Welcome to another episode of Net Wins, which can be located at https WILLF123.github.io/NBA net wins. The formula ranks Julius Erving 21st. The ABA is why it's complicated. Every ranking system tries to evaluate Julius Erving. They eventually hit the same wall. The NBA number's excellent but incomplete. He played 11 seasons with the 76ers and produced 48.8 regular season net wins, a career you'd expect to land someone in the top 15 all time. But before the NBA, there were 5 ABA seasons with the Virginia Squires and the New York Nets, and those 5 seasons are where the argument actually lives. The net wins formula now includes ABA data for every player who competed in the league, discounted by a user-adjustable weight to account for the difference in competitive level. The default is 90 cents on the dollar. Every ABA net win counts as 0.9 NBA net wins. At that 90% discount, Erving's combined total is 69.6. He ranks 21st all time. Change the discount slider to 100%, full credit for every ABA win, and his combined leaps to 72.1, passing Kevin Durant and putting him even with Kobe Bryant in the top 20. Drop it to 50%, the skeptic's position, and he's still at 62.6, which ranks him 25th or 26th. Even the harshest possible discount in his ABA career leaves him firmly in the top 30. The question this profile is really asking is how much was the ABA worth? His NBA career alone, before getting into the ABA debate, it's worth establishing what he did in the NBA by itself, because he was just an ABA star, framing undersells his 11 seasons in Philadelphia significantly. His NBA regular season total of 48.8 net wins across 11 seasons and an average of 4.43 point season. That average is higher than Kevin Garnett at 2.65, higher than Dirk Nowitzki at 3.35, higher than Charles Barkley at 3.07. It's higher than most players in the entire database. The formula sees an 11-year NBA career of genuine excellence, not a declining star whose prime happened somewhere else. The playoff record adds another 4.28 net wins across all 11 playoff appearances, including a 1982-1983 championship season where the Sixers went 12-1. So 52.5 combined net wins on NBA data alone, that ranks down 27th, 28th all time without a single ABA season counted. The ABA is a bonus, not a foundation. The 5 ABA seasons are where the formula produces its most interesting numbers and where the most important methodological question lives. His ABA raw total of 19.1 net wins across 5 seasons shapes his numbers differently. The first two ABA seasons at 21 and 22 years old on a mediocre Virginia Squires team produced almost nothing by this formula. 0.34 and 0.85 are effectively zero. Then Erving joined the New York Nets, and the formula sees exactly what happened. 3 consecutive elite seasons, 2 championships, and some of the most dominant individual performances in the history of professional basketball. His ABA peak of 6.56 in 1974-75 is nearly identical to his NBA peak of 7.55 in 1980-81. Whatever competitive gap existed between the leagues, Erving's individual contributions to wins converted at essentially the same rate in both. That is a meaningful data point. The 90% default isn't arbitrary, but it isn't provable either. Here's what each discount level implies and what it would take to justify it. If we give him full credit, 100% discount, saying the ABA was equivalent to the NBA, this is the maximalist position. It's hard to defend it completely. The ABA drew from a smaller talent pool and had less depth, but the top end of the ABA was unquestionably NBA quality. The Nets, the Colonels, and the Nuggets would have competed in the NBA playoffs. Erving at 100% ranks 20th all time. At the default of 90% discount, the ABA was 90% as competitive. This is a reasonable center position. It acknowledges the talent gap without dismissing 5 seasons of dominance on championship caliber teams. Erving at 90% ranks 21st all time. At a 75% discount, the ABA was significantly inferior, closer to a high-level minor league than a true competitor. This is aggressive but defensible given the small market's financial instability and uneven roster depth outside the top teams. Erving at 75% ranks 22 or 23 all time, essentially unchanged. At a 50% discount, That's the skeptic's floor. At this level, Irving's ABA career contributes 9.5 net wins, meaningful but not transformative. He still ranks 25th, 26th. The 50% position requires believing that ABA championships were essentially exhibition wins, which the historical record doesn't support. The striking thing about running these numbers is how stable Irving's ranking is across the range. Whether you believe the ABA at 50% or 100%, you get essentially the same answer. He belongs in the top 25 all time and probably the top 22. The only scenario where the ABA discount changes his story dramatically is if you believe the NBA only case puts him outside the top 30, and it doesn't. His 11 NBA seasons alone produce a top 28 career. The ABA is additional evidence, not the foundation. The net wins formula counts points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. It doesn't count dunks. That sounds like a joke, but it isn't. Julius Erving redefined what basketball could look like. The 1976 ABA Slam Dunk Contest. The baseline move against the Lakers in the 83 finals. The degree of difficulty brought to routine plays. None of that appears in the films. The formula sees a player whose positive contributions converted into wins at a 4.43 per season rate across 11 NBA seasons. It does not see the most influential individual player of his generation, the man who made the NBA worth watching for an entire demographic. The person David Stern later credited as central to the league's survival and growth. That cultural contribution is real and significant. The formula has no opinion about it, which is not the same as saying it doesn't matter. It means the formula is measuring one specific thing, contextual contributions to wins. And that specific thing lands Dr. J at number 21. If you believe cultural impact deserves weight in an all-time ranking, Irving moves up. How far is a matter of judgment the formula deliberately avoids? The conventional consensus, other rankings, puts him around 11th to 15th all time, significantly higher than this formula's 21st. The gap reflects something specific. Most traditional ranking systems give full or near full credit for ABA accomplishments, while this formula's 90% default applies a modest but consistent discount. At 100% ABA credit, the gap nearly closes. At 90%, the formula is saying exactly this. Dr. J's ABA career was great, but the competitive discount matters, and his NBA career, while excellent, doesn't rank quite as high as the cultural narrative around him suggests. The larger argument is that Julius Erving presents the cleanest possible test case for the ABA discount. His career splits almost perfectly into two halves: 5 NBA seasons of dominant or ABA seasons of dominance, followed by 11 NBA seasons of excellence with a clear championship in each league. The formula's answer is consistent across discount levels. He belongs in the top 25 all time, and the precise position depends almost entirely on how you value the ABA. This is not a knockdown argument for or against any specific ranking. It is a precise description of exactly where the uncertainty lives. Most ranking systems don't tell you that. They give you a number and imply it's settled. This one tells you, if you think the ABA was 90% as good as the NBA, Dr. J is 21st. If you think 75%, he's 22nd. If you think it's 100%, he's 20th. The difference between those positions is a single assumption about competitive context. The interactive database lets you move the slider yourself. That is the honest way to rank Julius Erving. So what others said about him, including David Stern, he said there's never been a player who meant more to a league than Julius Erving meant to the ABA. I don't think there's ever been a player who meant more to the survival of the NBA in its darkest moment than Julius Erving did in the early 1980s. Magic Johnson said Julius Erving was the reason I wanted to play basketball, not for what he did on the stat sheet, for what he made possible, for the idea the game could be something more than just winning. And Larry Bird said you couldn't stop him. You could try to make it harder, but there was always a play he had that you hadn't seen. He was ahead of everyone. The game caught up to him eventually, but for a long time, he was playing a different sport.